Imagine walking into a really bright, beautiful clothing store.
Right, the lights are shining, maybe some nice music is playing in the background.
Yeah, exactly. You see rows of nice shirts, neat stacks of jeans. You take a deep breath and you step inside. But suddenly, a worker in the store walks right up to you.
Oh, the classic greeting.
Yep. They look at you, smile, and ask, "Are you looking for anything in particular?"
And, I mean, it's a very simple question. But when you are trying to speak a new language, that moment can feel, well, incredibly scary.
Oh, absolutely. Your hands start to sweat. Your mind just goes completely blank. I mean, your brain is working so hard to translate the English words that it just freezes.
That's overload.
Total overload. So in a total panic, you look at the store worker and you shout, "Yes, I am a human."
Oh, no.
And then you literally turn around and run out the door.
You know, it sounds funny when we say it out loud, but that is a true story. It happened to a language learner from our source material named Danny. And honestly, that feeling of panic is completely normal.
Right. And that story is exactly why we are here today. Welcome to our deep dive. If you are learning English, this deep dive is designed specifically for you.
Yes, it is.
We are looking at a wonderful, helpful guide today. It features Danny, our nervous shopper, and his friend Sarah, who is a native English speaker.
Okay, let's unpack this. What is our plan?
Our mission today is clear. We want to make sure you never feel like a panicked human running out of a store. So we are going to explore Danny and Sarah's guide and break down the exact English vocabulary you need for a shopping trip.
From the very beginning to the end.
Exactly. And because this is for learners, I want to take this slowly and deliberately so you can really hear the words. We are going to speak a bit slower when we teach you these phrases.
I love that. We will walk you through the entire experience. We will start at the front door. We'll figure out how to find the right clothes, talk about what happens in the fitting room, and finish by learning how to pay at the checkout.
But we aren't just going to give you a list of words to memorize. That doesn't work.
No, it never sticks. Right. We are going to explain why English speakers use these specific phrases. When you understand the logic, and the culture behind the language, it becomes much easier to remember.
So let's jump right in. The very first challenge happens the moment you walk through the store doors. You walk in, and the store clerk approaches you. They usually ask, "Can I help you?"
This is standard American and British retail culture. The clerks are trained to greet you. They genuinely want to be helpful. And when they ask this question, you basically have two choices.
Okay, two choices.
Choice one, you do not want to buy anything yet. You just want to look around.
Yeah.
Choice two, you have a specific item you want to find.
Let's talk about choice one first. You are just I think a lot of learners struggle right here because they try to translate their thoughts directly from their native language.
Right. Which makes sense.
It does, but they might say something like, "I am looking at your clothes," which honestly sounds a little strange to a native speaker.
It does sound strange. Instead, we use a specific word. We use the word browsing. Let me spell that out clearly. B-R-O-W-S-I-N-G. Browsing.
Think of it like a web browser on your computer. Like when you are on the internet, you are just looking at different pages. You aren't necessarily doing anything. Or think of it like walking up to a large food buffet.
Oh, I like the buffet analogy.
Right. You grab a plate and you walk around the room. You look at the chicken, you look at the salad, you look at the bread. You are not putting anything on your plate yet.
You're just seeing what's there.
Exactly. You are just surveying all of your options before you make a decision. That action of surveying is browsing.
That is a great way to picture it. In a store, browsing gives you space. So when the clerk asks, "Can I help you?" You reply with this exact phrase. You say, "I'm just browsing, thank you."
I want to repeat that nice and slowly for our listeners. "I'm just browsing.
Yeah.
Thank you."
That phrase is a polite signal. It tells the worker that you are happy, and it tells them you do not need immediate service. They will smile, step back, and just leave you alone to look at the clothes in peace.
It's like a magic spell for introverts. But what if you enter the store with a mission? You know exactly what you want to buy. This is choice two.
For choice two, you do not use the word browsing. You use a different phrase to ask for help. You say, "I'm looking for," and then you add the name of the clothing.
Let's look at Danny in our guide. Danny wants to find some jeans. So, according to the guide, Danny should say, "I'm looking for a pair of jeans." But I want to stop here and challenge this a little bit.
Okay, what stands out to you?
Well, the guide says, "I'm looking for a pair of jeans." Why do we say a pair? The word pair means two, like a pair of shoes.
Right.
That makes perfect sense because you have a left shoe and a right shoe. They are two separate objects, but jeans are only one piece of clothing. I only hold one object in my hand. It feels, I don't know, completely illogical to call one single item a pair.
I completely understand why that is confusing. It is a very strange rule in English. But here is the underlying logic you need to remember. Think about the physical shape of the clothing. Does it cover two separate legs?
Well, yes, there is a section for the right leg and a section for the left leg.
Exactly. Hundreds of years ago, pants were actually made as two entirely separate pieces of cloth.
Wait, really?
Yes, you tied one piece to your left leg and one piece to your right leg. They were literally two separate items. Now, modern clothes are sewn together at the top, but the English language, well, it never changed. We still imagine them as two separate leg pieces joined together.
Oh, wow. That is fascinating. So the language is just stuck in history.
It is. Anything with two legs is always plural. We say a pair of jeans, we say a pair of pants, we say a pair of shorts. We even use this rule for other objects that have two identical parts.
Like what?
Like we say a pair of glasses because there are two lenses. We say a pair of scissors because there are two blades.
So if I walk into a store and say, I am looking for jeans, the clerk will be confused.
It will sound very wrong to a native English speaker's ear. Always remember the two legs rule. Always say a pair of jeans.
Okay, that gives us a really solid foundation. Once you've cracked the code of asking for that pair of jeans, the next hurdle isn't finding the clothes. It's figuring out if they actually fit your body. And the language shifts entirely when you step away from the racks and head to our next destination, the fitting room.
Let's set the scene. You have found a shirt you like, but the shirt on the table is too big. You need to ask the clerk for a smaller size.
You do not need to overcomplicate this. You just use one simple question structure. Do you have this in a... And then you add the size.
Let's practice that slowly. Do you have this in a medium, or do you have this in a large?
And what if the size is right, but the color is wrong? Let's say you're holding a bright red jacket, but you really want a blue one. Our guide brings up a really common mistake that beginners make right here.
Oh yes, the pointing mistake.
Right. A beginner might just point at the red jacket and say to the clerk, "Blue, please."
Yes. And let's be honest, the clerk will understand you. If you point to a red jacket and say blue, the clerk will go look for a blue jacket. You communicated your basic need.
But the guide says we shouldn't do that. Why not?
Because while it communicates your need, it sounds very demanding. It sounds a little bit like a robot, or like you giving an order to a servant. English retail culture places a heavy emphasis on polite conversation.
So how do we sound polite?
To sound natural and friendly, you should use a full question. You ask, does this come in any other colors?
Does this come in any other colors? I admit, in the heat of the moment, remembering a long sentence like that feels like mental gymnastics. It is much harder than just saying blue.
It does take more effort.
Yeah.
But think of it as building a quick, positive relationship with the clerk. When you ask a full, polite question, the clerk is much more likely to be friendly and helpful in return.
That makes total sense. Okay, so the clerk brings you the blue jacket in a medium. Now you need to put it on your body. You need a fitting room, which is the small private room in the store with a mirror.
You can ask the clerk, where are the fitting rooms? Or you can hold up the clothes and ask, can I try this on?
Let's slow that second phrase down. Can I try this on? Trying clothes on means putting them onto your body to test them.
You go into the room, you put the clothes on, you look in the mirror. Now you have to communicate how the clothes feel. Sarah teaches Danny 3 specific phrases for this in the guide.
Phrase number 1 is for when the clothing is very small, it feels restrictive. You say, it's a bit too tight.
Tight. T-I-G-H-T. It's a bit too tight.
Phrase number 2 is for when the clothing is very big, it is falling off your shoulders. You say, it's a bit too loose.
Loose. L-O-S-E. It's a bit too loose.
And phrase number 3 is for when you look in the mirror and you look absolutely amazing. The clothing is exactly right. You say, it fits perfectly.
It fits perfectly.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. I want to unpack those first 2 phrases. It's a bit too tight, and it's a bit too loose. Why do we add those 3 little words at the beginning? A bit too. Why don't we just look at the clerk and say, it is tight?
This goes right back to the cultural idea of politeness we just talked about. In English conversation, we often use words to soften negative statements. We call this mitigation. We use extra words as a cushion so we do not sound angry or aggressive.
I see. So if I walk out of the fitting room and yell, it is tight, the clerk might feel defensive. It sounds like I am blaming the clerk, or I don't know, I am angry at the clothing.
Exactly. It sounds like a harsh complaint. But when you add the words a bit too, it completely changes the temperature of the sentence. A bit means a small amount. You are gently saying, It is a small amount too tight. It sounds friendly. It sounds like a casual observation rather than a loud complaint.
That is a brilliant trick for English learners to remember. If you have to say something negative, put a bit too in front of it. It acts as a polite cushion. It's a bit too tight. It's a bit too loose.
It really does instantly make your simple vocabulary sound like a highly fluent native English speaker.
But hopefully the clues are not too tight or too loose. Hopefully you get to use the best phrase. It fits perfectly. And when it fits perfectly, you are ready for the final and sometimes most intimidating part of the store. You have to actually buy it.
This means walking up to the cash register to talk to the cashier.
Before you even get to the cashier, Danny's guide gives us a great tip about saving money. You should always look around the store for signs that say sale or clearance.
The word sale means the store has lowered the price of the items. They cost less money today than they did yesterday.
If you are holding a jacket and you are not sure if the price has been lowered, you can ask the cashier a magic question. You say, "Is this on sale?"
I will repeat that slowly. Is this on sale?
It is a simple question that can save you $20. So you confirm the price, you are happy, you make your final decision. How do you officially claim the item?
If you are only holding one single item, like one jacket,
Yeah,
you look at the cashier and say, "I'll take it."
I'll take it.
But if you are buying multiple things, let's say you have a jacket, a shirt, and a pair of jeans, you cannot use the word "it." You must say, "I'll take these."
I'll take these because these implies more than one object.
Correct. The cashier will then scan your clothes to get the total price. But the guide gives us a very important warning about what happens next. The cashier will almost certainly ask you, "Would you like a bag?"
This is crucial context for anyone visiting an English-speaking country today. 10 or 15 years ago, the store always gave you a free plastic bag. But not anymore.
Right. Due to environmental laws, many cities and countries now force stores to charge money for bags. The cashier is not just being polite. They are asking if you want to pay 10 cents or sometimes 25 cents for a shopping bag.
So you need to be ready to answer. If you have your own backpack, you can just say, "No, thank you, I have my own." If you do need one, you say, "Yes, please," and they will add the 10 cents to your total.
Next comes the actual payment. Most people do not carry paper money or heavy metal coins anymore. They use plastic debit or credit cards. To smoothly ask about paying, you could use the phrase, "Can I pay by card?"
Let's say that clearly. Can I pay by card?
Or, because modern payment machines are very fast, you can describe the physical action you want to take. You can ask, "Can I tap my card?"
Tapping the card, meaning you just hold the plastic card near the screen for a second until it makes a beep sound. Can I tap my card?
You hear the beep. The payment is successful. But here we arrive at Danny's final struggle in the guide. The cashier hands Danny a small white piece of printed paper. This paper shows the list of clothes he bought and the total money he paid. Danny reads the letters on the paper and calls it a recept.
Recept. Great. He's pronouncing it exactly how it is spelled. R-E-C-E-I-P-T. He sees the letter P, so he says the letter P, but the guide says he is wrong.
He is totally wrong. In English, we do not say the P at all. The word is pronounced receipt. Receipt.
Receipt. Okay, I have to ask, why is there a P in the word if we are completely ignoring it? Why do English speakers make spelling so difficult?
It is a totally fair question. To understand why the P is silent, we have to look back at history again. The word originally comes from an ancient Latin word, recepta, which definitely had a P sound. But thousands of years ago, the French language changed that word to receipt. They dropped the P.
Okay, so the French got rid of the P.
Yes. And when English speakers borrowed the word from the French, we spelled it without a P, and we pronounced it without a P. We said receipt. But here's where it gets crazy. In the 1500s, some English scholars decided they wanted English words to look more intelligent.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they wanted the words to show off their ancient Latin roots.
You are kidding me.
I am completely serious. These scholars took the English word and they shoved the letter P back into the spelling, just so it would look like the old Latin word recepta. But they never told anyone to change how they spoke. So the spelling changed, but the pronunciation stayed exactly the same.
That is wild. Some scholars hundreds of years ago just jammed a silent letter into the word to look smart. And now poor Danny has to struggle with it at the checkout counter.
It is a heavy burden for language learners, I know. But you absolutely must learn this word, receipt, receipt.
Why does this little piece of paper matter so much anyway?
Because it is your only proof of purchase. Imagine you take your new jacket home, you put it on the next day, and you realize there is a large hole in the pocket. Or maybe your husband or wife looks at it and says, that color is terrible on you.
Oh no, you need to take it back to the store.
Exactly. If you have the receipt, you can easily return the jacket and get your money back. Or you can exchange it for a different color. But if you throw the receipt away, the store has no proof that you bought the jacket from them. They will usually refuse to help you. Always, always keep your receipt.
Keep your receipt. Well, we have successfully navigated the entire store. From walking through the front entrance to mastering the fitting room to tapping the card and keeping the receipt. Let's look at the end of the guide to see how Danny's story finishes.
Right, so Danny practices everything we just discussed. He does a full role play with his friend Sarah.
And he pulls it off beautifully. Let's summarize his journey. He walks into the store. This time, he doesn't panic. When the clerk approaches, he calmly uses our buffet analogy phrase, "I'm just browsing, thank you."
He takes his time. He finds a jacket he likes. Then he switches to choice 2. He asks the clerk, "I'm looking for this jacket in a medium. Do you have it?"
The clerk brings it. Danny asks, "Where are the fitting rooms?" He tries it on, he walks out, looks in the mirror, and uses our favorite polite phrase. He says, "It fits perfectly. Is it on sale?"
The clerk says, "Yes, it is on sale for 20% off, which makes it $40. Danny says, "I'll take it. Can I tap my card?" He taps his card, he takes his receipt, and he walks out of the store.
He went from a terrified person running away from a greeting to a calm, confident English shopper.
It is a massive success, and the core takeaway from Danny's story is a fundamental truth about learning any new language. Practice makes perfect. Danny did not magically know these words. He practiced them out loud with Sarah.
Right, you cannot just read the words on a page. You have to train your mouth to say them.
You should never be afraid to try speaking. It is okay if you forget a word. It is okay if you say recept instead of receipt the first time. Making mistakes is exactly how you improve. Most people working in retail are happy to help someone who is clearly trying their best.
So what does this all mean? It means you are ready. And to help you lock this knowledge in, we have a homework question for you. This comes straight from Danny and Sarah's guide. I want you to visualize this right now. What is the very last thing you bought in a store?
Think about the physical item. Was it a shirt? Were they shoes? Think about the color.
Now, I want you to practice our phrase out loud. Say, "I'm looking for a," then name your item in, and then name your color.
Let me give you an example. Listen slowly. I'm looking for a sweater in green.
Or, "I'm looking for a pair of shoes in black." Practice that phrase today. Say it while you are making dinner. Say it in the mirror. Train your brain so you do not freeze the next time you walk through those store doors.
We have covered so much ground today. But before we finish our deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Oh, okay. What is it?
Today, we spent all our time learning the very specific English script required for a physical store. We learned how to manage human greetings, physical fitting rooms, and cashiers to shop confidently. But, well, think about how the world is changing. Imagine the hidden rules of English that exist on your computer.
Ah, right. Online shopping.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How does your English vocabulary need to adapt when the physical store disappears? Think about the differences. Your fitting room is now just your own bedroom. The polite cashier you try to impress is just a bright checkout button on a screen. There are entirely new verbs and nouns hiding in that digital world.
That is a great point. How do you return a jacket when there is no human being to talk to?
And what is the English phrase for a digital receipt? How do you describe a shipping address versus a billing address? If navigating a physical clothing store requires this much practice and historical context, imagine the complex language waiting for you on the other side of your web browser.
That is definitely something to think about the next time you're sitting on your couch browsing the internet for a new pair of jeans. Thank you for listening to this deep dive. Keep practicing your English, and we will catch you next time.